Fellows, welcome back to the More Than Average Men podcast. I am your host, Michael Benton, and you are either watching or listening to episode 24. Yo, welcome back. We are in episode 24. I'm super excited to be with you guys this evening. It's a late night session for me. It's a late night session for you, boy. I got my tea here. Shout out to Yogi Tea, by the way, too. Not a plug, but I literally drink Yogi Tea. But I don't know if you guys drink it, but I get the stress relief one and then the turmeric other one. Yeah. But anyway, I mix them together. It's pretty good. But let me read you you know how Yogi has like the little tags, little sayings on their individual packets. So one says, gratitude leads to love. Aw, that's sweet. And the other one says, let your energy be used to build, not destroy. So for all of you guys that are listening or watching, right? Don't use your energy for bad. Use it for the good. I really wish I could drink this, but as you can see, I'm sure you can probably see this smoke or whatever coming up. It's on fire. So I probably won't be able to drink this for the whole episode, which sucks, but whatever. Anyway, I'll try and finish it before I go to bed. But no, man, I'm super excited to be with you guys. Back at it again. This is always a fun time for me. I'm spending a lot of time working on other things, right? And so other entrepreneur stuff that I'm doing. So, I don't put too much time into the podcast as I would like to. And so that's why every time I get back on here, I'm like, oh man, it's so great to be back. I love doing it because I honestly do love doing the podcast. I just need to make more time doing it. So, but anyway, we'll get to that at some point. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about the 5 biggest barriers to your success. And this topic is very relevant for me because the 5 kind of barriers that I'm depicting in this particular episode are things that I'm currently dealing with or have dealt with or that I've found have been barriers for me. And so I feel very confident in talking about each one of these barriers. I won't go into as much depth as I usually have, but I'll give you guys enough to really understand what it is, where I'm coming from, and then obviously ways in which you can correct it yourself or overcome it. But, before I get into the first one, like I said, the podcast series for this year, 2024, obviously, has all, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they've all been kind of in sync with each other, right? They've all kind of tag teamed off of each other in regards to how things are accumulating in the year 2024 for me in particular. And so my hopes is that obviously I'm not the only one that's dealing with these things, these obstacles, these adversities in life, these transitions, these situations that are happening for us, right? Not to us, different mindset. And so I'm hoping that there's some semblance between those of us that are watching and listening to the podcast and just kind of going through everyday life, that we're meeting each other in the middle, and that there's a similarity between our lives in some sort. And my hopes is that with anything that I do, especially when I'm looking at trying to help others, is just lead you guys along in your own path. So that's the idea, right? But with these particular barriers that I'm going to talk about here shortly, I'm still experiencing some of these, like, quite frequently, right? And I don't think there's ever a time in which these barriers go away. I think that with awareness, and I think that with conscious decision making, that we could limit these things from being barriers towards our success or endeavors in our life. And so I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on some of these. Now, for some of you guys, right, where you're just getting into the light of self-development and personal development and getting to know yourself and things of that nature, that you might not be fully aware as to what your barriers are, right? And so there's there's this feeling of this haze, right? Or this kind of claustrophobicness, right? This tightness within you that you're not really sure like what is stopping you from doing what you want to do, or what is stopping you from getting to where you want to get to, right? And so it's going to take some awareness, right? Some time to develop that skill and hone that into which you can start to understand, okay, I can recognize what is happening. And so, I hope that through this particular episode and episodes I've done previously, and just again, anything that I give to you guys, is that it's starting to build your awareness for your own self, right? So where you can start to recognize mishaps or mistakes that you continually make over and over again, and correct those faster and get yourself back on track to where you want to be. But so there's 5 barriers that I want to talk to you with you guys about. Obviously, there's a plethora more, right? We can go on forever about different types of barriers, but I really just wanted to hone in on the ones that really had some semblance to me, and that I also felt that majority of people kind of experience as they pursue the thing we call success, right? And hopefully each and every one of you have taken some time to define what success is to you and what that means, because again, not everyone's definition of success is going to be the same. It's not going to look the same. It's not going to feel the same, right? And so as long as you're in tune with what success means and feels for you, then you have all the power that you need to make that happen, right? So without further ado, let's get into the first one. So number 1 is going to be resistance. Resistance, right? So if we look at the definition of resistance, it's refusing to comply with or accept something, right? Typically, a resistance occurs on the subconscious level. Most people, when they experience resistance, it's coming from a subconscious level, meaning they're not really conscious of what it is that they're doing to be resistance, right? Or to be resistant, because it's innate within them that they've done it for so long that it's just self-conscious, right? It's just something that just happens, right? Breaking up and brushing your teeth is just a habit. It's just something you've done routinely for so long that it's just second nature to you, right? Same thing with resistance, right? Where it can be second nature if you aren't aware of what's happening and you've been doing it for so long that it's just a part of you. And so I think understanding that, it occurs at the subconscious level is an awareness within itself, because then we know that the reaction to the change is happening psychologically, right? Up here, right? And so we know that, hey, the resistance is coming from how I'm thinking or my thoughts, right? Or what I'm saying to myself. Then we also know that those things can be changed, right? They can be reprogrammed. And so this is where we need to start becoming more, as I mentioned, conscious beings, right? Where we're being aware of what's happening internally and externally all around us. And that way we can start making better decisions and really emphasizing and putting more effort into the thoughts that we want to have versus the thoughts that just come up for us, right? That are just regurgitated. And so I think it's very important to understand kind of a little bit of where resistance kind of stems from. That way we know what area to look at and what area to fix, which obviously is going to be our mindset. And resistance typically often shows up in various types of modes, right? So you're very familiar with a lot of these, but I'll just name a few. So like procrastination, avoidance, perfectionism, overthinking or overanalyzing, right? Self-sabotage is another one that comes up. So those are just a few of kind of what resistance disguises itself as, right? And so these are the things that we are easily able to point out, or others are able to point out within us that say, oh, look, like you're procrastinating, like, right? Or it allows us to be able to easily identify what is happening. But altogether, it's really resistance, right? It's us refusing the change in something new, right? And so I felt a lot of resistance in a lot of the areas that, I kind of wanted to better myself in. money, for instance, as far as like, just getting better at my finances. So I went and downloaded I think it was Rocket Money that I downloaded. It was like a budgeting app that you can use or whatever. And so, and then I tried Dave Ramsey's. I read some of his Total Money Makeover. Read that and like doing the whole envelope system. And I didn't try it to the degree in which I knew I could. I just kind of like dabbled in it. But again, that was part of resistance, right? Because I'm so used to like not having a budget with my finances and kind of just free flowing things and using the debit card like whenever, as long as there's money in there, right? We'll swipe or whatever, right? And so that was an example of resistance for me when it comes to managing my finances and things of that nature, right? And another area is like in relationships where I was resistant to doing the things that my partner needed me to do for them, right? And so maybe it was being more affectionate to them, right? Or being more emotional towards them. And my upbringing and how I interacted with females and things of that nature all played a part in me being resistant to changing what I needed to change in order to make the relationship better, not only for myself, but for my partner altogether, right? So again, I think we all face a lot of resistance in every single area of our life, and it's just becoming aware of, what is that resistance disguising itself as? What does that look like? And then obviously once you're recognizing it, it's then doing something about it. So just a couple of things that you guys can do as far as overcoming resistance in whatever area you're facing them in. One thing is to obviously to expect resistance. So if you're trying something new for the first time, if you're in a new role at work, or maybe you're in a new industry, or whatever the case may be, expect resistance. Expect yourself to things to like slow you down and to like apprehend you from doing what it is that you need to do, right? Because it's new and it's uncomfortable and it's just something that you're not used to. And so I would say like make a list of what you've experienced in the past. That way you have kind of a catalog of, okay, normally this is how I do resistance, right? Normally I procrastinate. So then when procrastination comes up when you're trying to do something, you already know like, okay, this is a normal thing for me. This is what I do. Okay, so now that I know that I do this, what are the steps I'm going to take to overcome it? You know what I mean? Versus I think if we're unaware of what's happening, it's easy for us to kind of just lose sight and just keep going without actually stopping and thinking like, oh, I'm actually doing that. You know what I mean? Because you're just unaware of the mechanisms that are working behind the scenes. But if you're aware of like, hey, I know I'm a procrastinator. I know that. I know when I'm working on an art project or whatever it is I'm working on, I'm a perfectionist. So I'm going to do it over and over again until it's perfect. Okay. So knowing that going into the project, I know that, okay, I'm going to give myself only 2 revisions, right? I'm going to give myself 3 revisions at the max. And then whatever I end with in that 3rd revision is what I'm moving forward with, right? So knowing the resistance that you're going to be facing ahead of time is going to help you move past it, right? And then just preparing for the obstacles. If you're goal setting, right, and there's something that you want to achieve or something that you want to hit or some type of goal or whatever it is, right, write out a list of obstacles that you know you're going to face, right? If you want to start going for walks in the morning, what are some of the obstacles that you know you're going to face that's going to stop you from going to walks in the morning, right? Staying up too late at night, right? Eating badly at night, right? What else? Snoozing your alarm, waking up late. There's a number of things. So these are potential obstacles that you're going to face. Then list them out, and then create a game plan for how you're going to overcome each and every one of those. So that way you have no excuse as to why you're not getting up and going for a walk in the morning if that's what you want to do. And then I would say lastly too is maybe just having an accountability partner, right? Someone that's going to be there to support you and to help you kind of, maybe uphold that awareness of what's happening and the resistance that you're used to displaying. right? And that person can be there to say, hey, we know you're a procrastinator. We know you like to avoid things. We know you typically self-sabotage your own relationships because innately you're scared of getting hurt or whatever the case may be, right? It's like someone that's there that's going to help you do the shadow work with you, and that's going to be there in the trenches with you, and that's going to help you when you hit your lows. They're going to be there to pick you back up, right? And to ride that wave there with you. So I would say those are the three things that you could start using in your life to overcome resistance. Okay. Number 2, instant gratification. I am very, very much bad at this one. I will say though, I think I've gotten better. I think I've gotten better at not needing the instant gratification. But I would say in the past, oh yeah, like I didn't want to wait for nothing. I hated waiting for anything. I wanted it and I wanted it now. And I don't know if there's anything to blame. I don't know if I'm just the blame of that or whatever, but I think obviously, environments inflict a lot of that, habits on you or whatever. And so, I'm from the age in which, everything's pretty much instant. You go online and you can buy something and you can get it the next day, you know what I mean? Or it's just readily available for you and you don't really have to wait for much. And so that instant gratification was a very big downfall for me when it came to, I guess, moving towards my success, because I immediately wanted whatever the result that I was trying to get. I immediately wanted. Listen, if it took more than a month, I was like, yo, this probably ain't for me. Like, I'm just not gonna make it. Might as well just go ahead and find something else that's gonna be as less effort as possible with the most amount of reward coming back, because I didn't want to put in that work. That's basically what it was. I didn't want to put in the work. So but instant gratification is the immediate fulfillment of a person's needs or desires, right? And I think that a few ways in which we could overcome that, one is to try and delay your gratification. So like, I don't know, if you are a type of person that wakes up in the morning and you like to check your emails, or you like to check your social media messages and inboxes and text messages or whatever, try to like delay your urge, right? So like, if you get up and normally you like, that's like the first thing you do is grab your phone and start scrolling through stuff or whatever, like try and sit up in bed or whatever, get up or wash your face and maybe wait 5 minutes before you look at your phone, right? And then gradually increase that time. So the next day, try and wait 20 minutes, and the next day maybe try to wait, I don't know, 35 minutes and then an hour or whatever the intervals you want to set. But try to delay the urge for you to get that instant gratification. And then eventually what's going to happen is you're going to prolong it. You're going to keep prolonging it longer and longer, where it's not going to be much of an urgent need for you anymore. It's no longer going to be an urge that you have to satisfy immediately, right? You're going to start to build up this tolerance in which you can wait. You can wait to check your emails, or you can wait to open up your packages and see what you got at Netflix that you're ordering on subscription that you have no idea you're paying for. I don't know. Like, you can delay that gratification. And then just number 2 is just make conscious decisions. You know what I mean? Just be conscious about what it is that you're doing, right? I think a lot of the times we walk around life like aimlessly. You know what I mean? Like we don't think of the consequences. We don't think of what we're doing. We just do. And then we react. We're very much a reactive people. Like, very few of us are like take initiative before the reaction needs to be warranted. You know what I mean? Like we like wait until, oh, I got fired. Now I'm going to go find a job, or, now I'm going to try and be better at my job. Well, it's too late now. You should have did that before. You know what I mean? So like, just be conscious of what you're doing. Why are you taking this action? Why are you opening up your emails in the morning? Why are you rushing to the mailbox? Like, why are you doing these things? What is the purpose? Okay, can you find a better means, a more positive means of getting whatever it is you're getting from that, right? Or can we substitute that, or can we delay that gratification? You know what I mean? To just hold tight for a moment. So Instant gratification, again, that was a big one for me because I like I said, I didn't want to wait for stuff. And now I'm getting to the point where, like I said, I'm understanding that, listen, anything that's worth doing is going to take a long time. Now, a long time could be 6 months. A long time could be 2 years. A long time could be 10 years, right? Like, I don't know. It just depends on whatever it is that you're going for. But it's so much worth it. I'm starting to realize that I'm really focusing more on the process than I am on the result. And that was my big Achilles heel, because again, I would always focus on the result. What I would only focus on, like, the end goal, but I wouldn't focus on, okay, well, how am I getting there? And how much am I changing per day, right? Like, how much better am I getting each and every day that I'm at this process, that I know inevitably I'm going to get to where it is I'm trying to get to if I just continue on this particular path. Instead of only focusing on the end result and then not taking any action or getting myself any much better than the day before, because I just want it now. You know what I mean? So I've gotten really, really good at just saying, you know what, it's all about the process, and really focusing on who I am changing into every single day. Every single day I'm getting 1% better than I was before, right? And so I think if we can look at life that way, then it would be so much better. But I listen, I get it. It's crazy hard to focus on the process. Crazy hard. But it's doable. It's very much doable. Number 3. So the number 3, and this is in no particular order, biggest barriers to your success is distractions. A lot of millennials fall into this, where it's like social media, it could be emails, it could be distractions. If it's a guy, it could be distraction with females, women, it could be distraction with males. It could be conversations. It could be toxic relationships. Like it'd be thoughts about others and what they think of you. Like it could be a whole plethora of things. But I think we find these little outlets that we find, we allow them to become distractions. And that obviously will hinder us from getting to where we need to get to. I think I might be able to I'm going to try to take a sip of my tea. If I burn my lip, I'm going to be so mad. I can actually drink it. It's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, you guys didn't come here to see me drink tea out of a pink mud. Okay, anyway, so distractions. Like, we have to recognize, like, what are distractions, right? Some of us have really bad distractions. Some males have a really bad distraction when it comes to porn, like really bad, like where their day is overcome with, wow, that was no pun intended. I didn't try to do that. Let's use a different example. But yeah, so find out what your distraction is, understand what your distraction is, right? And then look for ways in which you can avoid the distraction. And there's some ways which you can overcome it, right? So one is plan the night before. So I'm trying to be better at this. So in the job that I'm doing right now, selling life insurance, like I'm trying to plan out my day the night before. And so that's knowing who I'm going to call, right? And having that list in order and knowing when I'm going to eat. So that way I'm not distracted, right? And having everything pretty much done. So that way when I wake up and I'm actually getting ready to go to work, that I'm at work. You know what I mean? Turning off the distractions. So if I know for me, like my phone is very, very, very much accessible to me. I make phone calls on my phone. So my phone is always there. And so I find myself at times where like I can just get on Instagram real quick, kind of scroll. Well, then that scroll turns into a little bit of time. And I'm like, damn, I could have made more phone calls or I could have did whatever else. And so turning off the distractions. So I know there's a feature on an Apple phone in which you can like turn off those features. I haven't tried it yet, but it might be a good idea for me. So if you're that bad, right, or if you need to really just like really remove any distractions from you, from going down that rabbit hole, then obviously there's obviously ways in which you can do that on your device to enable you or not enable you to use that feature or whatever until a certain amount of time, right? Set boundaries. So like I've done this before. I've been in relationships and, I'm supposed to be, I told myself I was going to record a podcast, right? Or I was going to work late or I had something I needed to get done. And then, my lady friend would be like, yo, like, come through. And I'd be like, man, all right, well, I can either record a podcast or I can work another 2 hours or I can go hang out with her. I'm going to go hang out with her. Knowing damn well I need to do my podcast or knowing damn well I need to do something totally different, right? And so it's like I need to set boundaries. You know what I mean? So like if I'm ever in a relationship again, I need to be able to set boundaries. Like, look, I can't come over and hang out with you. Nothing at all. We can't do anything until this and this is at least done. You know what I mean? So it's just setting boundaries on whatever that distraction is for you, right? Like if your phone is your distraction or, if it's conversations that you have with friends, you guys get lost in the time or whatever, like you got to set boundaries. Like, listen, from, I don't know, 9 to 7, like I'm obsolete. I'm out of here. Like I don't exist. So don't call me. Don't text me. You know what I mean? If you got to get that precise, then that's what you got to do to make it happen. And then I would say number 4 to overcome distraction is to reward yourself, right? So like this, I've used this actually, and actually it does work where it's like, okay, I told myself, you know what? If I don't get on Instagram for the next, I don't know, 5 hours or whatever it is, then I'm going to reward myself with, I don't know, some ice cream or whatever the reward is I want it to be, right? Or my reward is that I'm just going to sit on my phone and scroll through reels or whatever for the next hour and a half without feeling bad towards myself, right? Like whatever the reward that you want to set up for yourself, do it. Hopefully it's healthy, but yeah, reward yourself. That's another way for you to like, okay, you know what? Set the tone. I'm going to focus on whatever it is I'm doing, and there's not going to be any distractions. But then once I complete that time frame in which I said I was going to do, then I'm going to reward myself with whatever it is that I want to do. And that's another way for you to really take ownership and really put your distractions to the wayside and really take ownership of that. So that was distractions. And then the last but not least, which I think is probably one of the most important ones, because this is the one that really is starting to change the trajectory in which I reach the success, right? And that is lack of a process. I have been notorious for not having a process. Here's what success looked like to me as far as like how I thought I was going to go about getting it. I was going to have this dream. I can see the vision. I can see myself in it, right? And then I was like, okay, I want that. And then it was like, okay, go get it. There was no process. There was no like figuring like how you're going to get it. It was just like hoping and praying and wishing that somehow through the actions, whatever actions I took, it was gonna lead me towards getting that thing or achieving that thing or whatever that was, right? And that was the worst thing to do, because I always found myself having booklets of like all my goals, right? I got my 5-year goal, I got my 10-year goal, right? I got my 6 months or less goals, and they're all over the house, and not one of them is like completed. Like some of the ones that I actually did complete, they were like either they were really super easy to get or to achieve, right? Like buy tickets to a Michigan game. Oh, that's not hard. Use my credit card and go buy to a Michigan game. Oh, I just passed one of my goals, right? I just surpassed one of my goals. You know what I mean? Like that's not, come on now, right? Like, what are you doing? I just never had a process. I never understood that, listen, it's the journey, right? Not the destination. And so I think we tend to keep the focus on the end goal, the result, rather than how we're going to get there. Because it's so easy to like become wide-eyed in what it is that you want. Okay? Because you're constantly always thinking about the what if, right? Like, what if I had that, or when I get this, or when I get that, right? You're always constantly thinking like what you don't have, what you're lacking. And rarely do a lot of us ever think like, okay, yes, you can keep the vision there in the forefront, right? Like, okay, yes, you know where you want to go, you know what you want to do, you know what you want to achieve. Great. Now let's remove our focus from the end goal, and let's put all of our focus on the process and how we're going to achieve that, because we know inevitably if we just continue to stick with the process through minimum change or drastic change or whatever that looks like, we're going to get there. We're inevitably going to succeed. We're inevitably going to get whatever it is that we want. But we focus so much on it's just because it's tedious, right? It's tedious and it's hard and it's difficult and it's uncomfortable, and we don't have that instant gratification, and we have to wait, and it takes time, and while you're doing all that, you're going through this agony and this adversity, and you're sad and you're up and down. It's just like, who the hell wants to go through all of that when we can let's just focus on the big goal and just hope that we get there, right? That's easier than actually sitting through all the muck that we have to in order to get to where we want to get to. Does that make sense? So I think ways in which we can overcome it, right? So one is you reverse engineer. So if we're talking about goals, and as it relates to a process, right? It's like, okay, let's see. One of my goals that I have is to become partner, right? At this company that I'm with. And they have a whole process. They have the process lined out, mapped out from word for word, like step by step on how to get from A to from an entry level person to a partner of the company. They have it all mapped out. You know what I mean? And so that makes it super easy for me, because now I'm like, okay, well, they already have the roadmap. I no longer have to like hope and dream and wish that the actions that I'm taking are hopefully leading me towards that becoming a reality for me. No, it says step 1, do this. Okay. Step 2, you're now this, now do this to get to step 3. And then you keep doing that, and boom, you get to the end step. And it's like, okay, well, just follow that. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about goals, just reverse engineer, just work backwards. So if you have a 5-year goal to be get your bachelor's degree or whatever, right? Or your master's or whatever, and then just work backwards. Like, okay, what do I have to do in year 3? What do I have to do year 2? What do I have to do in year 1? What do I have to do in the first 6 months? Like, what classes do I have to take? You know what I mean? Or if it's like, you want to save, $10,000. Okay, well, how much do I need to, you want to save $10,000 in a year? Okay, cool. How much do I need to save per month? How much do I need to save per week? How much do I need to save per day? Right? And then focus on the process. Okay, so we know I have to save X amount of dollars per week. Okay, so every week, every day, I'm going to put X amount of money away, so I know at the end of the week, I have the weekly month amount that I need. And if I just keep that up, every week I'm going to have the same amount of money. Every month it's going to be the same amount that I need. And then by the year, I should have my money that I want saved, right? So just work backwards towards your goal. That's reverse engineering. Plan ahead, right? Again, as we talked about earlier, where it's like planning ahead for obstacles, what things you're going to face. Plan ahead for what you need to do. What materials do you need? Like what is all that is going to encompass everything you need to reach the end result of whatever it is you're trying to reach? Like, what do you need to have? Do you need to have mentors? Do you need to have software resources? Like, do you need to have, capital? Like, whatever it is, like, plan ahead. That way, okay, you're going to face this and this and this particular step or whatever. You already got what you need. Instead of working your way through there, and they're just and then you get there and you run into a brick wall, and it's like, oh crap! And now there's a setback, right? Where if you could have planned for this earlier, as best you possibly can, right? You could limit that time frame in which you get stuck and you slow down. And then I would say, lastly, too, is just ask those that have achieved already what you want to achieve, right? If you want to become an author, talk to authors. How do you write a book? Like, how did you write a book, right? Or what did it take? How many pages did you have to write a day? How many words did you have to write a day? How long did it take you to write your book, right? Like, ask someone who's done it, You want to be the president of your company or whatever? Go ask the president, hey, how did you get to where you get to? Did you have to have a certain degree? Did you have to have a certain number of experience? Like, what was your path? And ask multiple people, right? And then you don't really have to reinvent the wheel, but you now have 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it is, different scenarios in which, like, okay, I've seen 5 different people, 4 different people, whatever, arrive at the same arena that I want to arrive at. What are the similarities? What are they all did this. No matter what, they all seem to do this. Okay, I know I need to do this, right? How they do it. Is there a faster way? Is there a way I can be more efficient in doing it than what they did, right? Like, ask people, because you can save yourself so much time and so much headache and so much discomfort by just following the path that's already been laid there for you, right? You don't really necessarily have to recreate the wheel. You know what I mean? And I think that with those particular distractions, obviously there's more, but I just feel very compelled to really share those 4, because those are the 4 that I particularly still experience in some form of fashion, especially the lack of process, which I'm getting really good at lack of process, like getting better at just focusing on the process. But so hopefully, those things shed a little bit of light, maybe some awareness on things that you may have not noticed about yourself, or things that you may have noticed about others that you can share with them and kind of bring them into the light. Like, hey, did you notice? I noticed you say this, or you do this a lot, and you mentioned that you wanted to do something else, like, right? And so hopefully this brings something to your awareness and to your forefront to help you guys really start to move towards the area that you want to be in life, the success that you want to have in life, because I think we all deserve to be successful in our own right. Again, whatever that means to you. But life is hard, man. And there's just so many barriers, and there's just so many obstacles and adversities that you have to go through. And it could be super tough. It could be awful. You know what I mean? Like, it could be really, really bad. And I think a lot of people end up, striking out, or they end up quitting and trying something different, or not going after their dreams because of the adversity that they face, or times get tough and they don't have a plan, right? They don't have someone or people there to back them up, or people to go to, or whatever, right? The right mindset to continue forward, and to understand that you're going to face failure, you're going to face rejection and adversity, but that's just part of the game, right? And so the more equipped that we all can be individually, I think in the complex scheme of things, as far as the society, we could be so much more better if we just all were to better ourselves and really push ourselves, right, and understand ourselves to the fullest, to the utmost, as much as we possibly could, to get to where we want to get to. So anyway, I'm sure my stressed tea here is cold, so I'll have to rewarm that up. That's exciting. But anyway, I like I said, I appreciate you guys for tapping in with me. Another episode. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate your support. And if you are listening on the podcast, share the podcast. Please leave a review. Let me know what you think. If there's anything that you guys want me to discuss in particular, I'd love to hear from you guys. You can always find me on IG, and it's Michael. You just type in Michael Benton, Michael A. Benton, and I should pop up. You don't need to put it in underscores. Oh, I am creating a new Instagram channel for my podcast, and there's going to be some changes to the podcast too. So stick around. It's going to be some good information, good stuff, but we're making just a few little mods to it, and but we're going to keep the content rolling. So again, I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for your support and tapping in with me. And as I always say, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out, fellas.